Hey guys, welcome back to Graveyard Graham's Midnight Ride. For those in the know, that is going to be the name of the new channel. Starting a second channel, I'm going to shunt all of my off-topic videos over to there, and this channel, the main channel, will be for more formalized reviews. I'll get that started in about a week or so. In the coming year, there is a lot of stuff coming out that I'm excited about. Most of it is comics, as most of my print reading has been comics for the last year and a half or so. And at first I was like, oh, I feel weird about that, but it's largely a symptom of what my schedule permits with everything else that I've got going on. So that's what I'm going to keep doing. Plus, I just happen to really, really freaking enjoy it. The comics coming out, Rippaverse had a giant reveal video over the weekend that was really cool. I like that format where it's a bit of a hype thing. Like, here's everything that's coming out, and they have the different creators and the productive team behind it talking about their individual projects. I also thought it was kind of cool that I'm not excited about all of them, weirdly enough. I wondered if it was going to be one of those things where, like, okay, he releases one or two books a year, and I get them a month or two after I order them, and like they're substantial and everything, but he just doesn't produce that much. And am I going to like everything that he does? And I think it's kind of neat that I don't, only because it means that he's producing stuff with a broader appeal, all in the same Rippaverse continuity. Continuity in canon was something that he built his online platform on, Eric July. And obviously he's going to stick to that ethos when he's doing his own creative projects. The ones that I am excited for are ISOM number 3, Yaira number 2, what were the other? Alpha Core number 2. I think he announced a Horseman number 2. Horseman, as I said in my review, is my favorite of the Rippaverse books so far. And there was one other one. Oh, the Great War of Separation. In each of the Rippaverse books that I've read so far, there have been little hints about how the world got the way that it was, that there was some kind of Civil War-esque event that changed the political landscape of the United States, the lines on the map, and that somewhere along the way, Texas seceded. And it looks like this is going to be, it says it's a limited series. I don't know if it means there's going to be 2 or 3 overall, but that's fine. I think the limited series is a lost art, and I'm gonna sign up for those ones. I think that's more or less it. I will say, just as a critique, some of the production behind the announcements was a little bit cheesy. Some of the dialogue was a little bit overproduced, like over emotional. But again, like, not all of these books were appealing to me. I think Bloodruth number 1 was the first book from Rippaverse that I didn't buy, just because it's a horror thing, and horror is not my thing. It is the rare horror book that I get into. And as much as I enjoyed ISOM 1 and ISOM 2, the more I thought about it, the more I kind of came around to this idea that, like, well, he's showing that there are very few, if any, limits on this world. Like, you can go to ISOM number 1 and read a story about, okay, here's a city that has people with superpowers in it, and this guy who hung up the suit before is now getting back into the game. And then in the next book, it's suddenly like, oh, we have monsters and horror in this too. That was one of my critiques of the DC movies. Like, they went from, we had a pretty good movie with Man of Steel to, okay, we're going to try to blitz the Justice League as fast as we can. It's like, lay a little bit more groundwork, like turn up the temperature slowly. But I get the impression that he had this vision for a world with a lot going on in it beforehand. It just wasn't so reflected in ISOM number 1. He decided to release that in ISOM number 2. It's like, okay, ISOM number 2 is significant because that's where Bloodruth got her introduction. And there was a character that she helped ISOM rescue, and he'll be relevant later on. So it's all still in the establishment phase, and there are just going to be pockets of the Rippaverse that I look at it and it's like, yeah, I'm not interested in that one. It's still got its success and its followers. I think Bloodruth number 1 has sold over 10,000 copies. It also sounds like he's moving off of this kind of campaign pre-order format, and things are just going to go live and you can order them. Maybe there'll be like a week of hype versus like, okay, here's this 6-week window, and it goes from there. Whatever it is, like, I think it's cool what he's doing with his independent company, and obviously that he did a lot of moves in silence. Like he thought about things and then did them and then talked about them after they were done, instead of saying like, oh yeah, I want to accomplish this, and then just talking about it all the time, and then you finally try to do it and it falls flat on its face. Like, it's been cool to watch. So there's half a dozen Rippaverse books there, more or less, that I'll be picking up in 2025. Ghost Machine also had their kind of reveal showcase thing. I saw a video on Insta. They had fewer books to announce, but the asterisk on that, it's because, in a sense, a lot of these books have been announced. They're just now getting dates attached to them. For the Unnamed War series, there's a timeline in the back of the books that shows, like, this is when Redcoat did his thing, this is when these different characters popped up, and then you go 25 years into the future, and here's Geiger. It's like, oh, okay. There's a whole bunch of characters on there that are named, but we don't know anything about them. The Northerner, Widow X, the Monster, First Ghost. At least 2 of those are getting their books in 2025. The Northerner and First Ghost. We're going to continue on with Geiger, and then it sounds like Junkyard Joe is back. I don't know what they're going to do for a Junkyard Joe like ongoing series, because of different developments in that story. Certain characters have died off of old age and stuff, but they have hinted that between Vietnam and 2020, or thereabouts, whenever the Junkyard Joe book happened, he wasn't completely in storage the entire time. The robot, like, he popped up and he had other adventures. So we could get limited runs here and there. It's like, well, here's Junkyard Joe in Panama, or here's Junkyard Joe during 9/11, like something like that. There's story potential there, and as long as Jeff Johns continues to helm the ship there, it's going to sail through adventurous and exciting waters. So Ghost Machine continues to be awesome. In the last couple of months, I've thought about starting a comics channel and moving everything over there separately. But the thing that prevents me from doing it is that I always feel kind of like a charlatan, like the imposter syndrome thing going on there, only because there are certain comics that I like, but I don't know nearly enough about comics broadly to share opinions that are of value to anybody. And so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Other than the absolute stuff, like, I don't read mainline DC things. I'm not buying any Marvel comics. Pretty much everything that I get from the store, other than the absolutes, is under Image, whether it's Skybound or Ghost Machine. I guess Ghost Machine spun off of Image, but they still do some of their distribution through them. I don't know. So it would be like, hey, I like this one genre from this one small press. Let me be an expert on everything. Like, no, it's just reading, and it's a different genre, a different medium, and I'll continue to share it here on the book channel. As for main books that are coming out next year, the 2 that I have on pre-order at the moment are Heart of the Mountain by Larry Correia, which I've already read, but I'm getting the hardcover. And then Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, which is probably the book I'm most excited for. There are others in the indie sphere, but I'd have to go and check and see who's got dates announced for what. And then projects that I'm set to read. I really had fun reading the Silmarillion the way that I did last year. And I'm going to read more stuff like that, where I deliberately take my time. I might take a few months picking through something here and there so that I can slowly digest it. And also to kind of offset the fast pace at which I consume other books, like audiobooks. I like kind of diversifying the experience that I have with going through different stories. And finally, like the last announcement is, I was talking to Kenny Parrish about this tonight. Like, I've been bad about growing my TBR pile, like all devoted readers are, just getting too many books without reading what I've already got. And so I'm putting a hard rule on myself, and I've got a list of what I need to get to. If I want to buy another book, I need to read 3 that I already have. and that's physical books, not audio books. Audio I can get through at the day job. That's not a challenge finding time for that. It's pretty much the only thing I have time for. But print books, I've got some substantial reads to get through, and I need to get through them. So putting that limitation on myself so that, not just for the economics of it, but for my own sanity. It is a problem among readers, the same way that it's a problem amongst Warhammer fans. They've got their gray pile of shame, the figures that they've bought but haven't painted yet. It's the same way with us with books. I want to read this, I'll eventually get to it. I've got books that have been sitting on my shelf for years that I just had to have at the time, and then here I am. So I've got one final box from Thrift Books coming. I ordered it before Christmas. I am getting a print copy of the Aeneid and the Odyssey. There's a lot of brouhaha going around about some new translation of the Odyssey on X. I can't remember the translation that I ended up getting, but it was a disposable paperback from years ago. So hopefully it's a little bit of a better one just for its age. And then, like I said, I got that copy of Tolkien's translation of Beowulf along with a whole bunch of annotations. It's a thick, hefty tome. So plenty of stuff to chew through. And then some longer projects. I'm going to read Admiral of the Ocean Sea by Samuel Eliot Morison. That's the biography of Christopher Columbus. I'm going to try to get through volume 1 of Robert E. Lee. I've got some longer books to tackle. I've got a biography of the Austrian funny mustache man, a book about Napoleon, and a book about a Japanese samurai named Musashi. All of those are 40 to 50 hours long in audio. So I'm tackling some more substantial projects. I read 142 books last year. I'm not trying to read for a high count. I'm trying to read things that I'm really going to enjoy or that are really going to edify me. The whole point of reading is not to generate a new piece of content every day. I read for my own edification. I make the content to share what has edified me. If I'm pushing through books that aren't really doing it for me, then I've lost the plot. Haha. Book metaphor. All right. Midnight run over. I am at work. Y'all drive safe. See you out there.